Hey, what's up? It is your boy BQ and TW. This is the Cool Factor, brought to you by the Impact Lounge, here on YouTube, and finally going to be back on streaming platforms this week. Kind of took a break from that, so apologies if you're listening streaming right now. Sorry, there haven't been any episodes in a while, but we're back again, back in that ass. So we got TW eating ice cream there. I'm imagining. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I had my coffee, but I finished in the entire time that we were talking
You
before
got
the show
coffee?
started.
I got ice cream.
Bam, there we go. I can't even fathom ice cream right now because it is freezing here.
I'm
We're gonna
fat.
hit the. Oh, okay. We're gonna hit the negatives tomorrow, or the day before, or day after. I mean, and we don't usually hit the negatives. We get like it's 8 right now, I think, something like that. But we're gonna.
Oh my god.
So the cold
I
weather
got so
doesn't
much
bother
rain,
me,
so
but
much
this is bad.
snow over here in the beautiful Northeast. We got buried this week, bro. Buried. Ugh.
Oh God, we have like ice. It's not so much. It's not pretty snow at all. It's very icy.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. You pretty snow. I'm glad you mentioned that because the snow actually was pretty till I had to go outside.
Right. No, it's not. I do like the snow. This is not quite it. So, uh, thanks for listening and joining us this week, guys. What we're going to be doing, we don't usually talk a whole lot of news here on the Cool Factor, so we're going to kind of get into something here a little bit first, and then we're going to run down the Impact card in a cool or not cool type of way. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going to talk about No Surrender a little bit. Now, this podcast is dropping Saturday morning. No Surrender is obviously in the evening. We're not going to be giving like predictions necessarily. I mean, I'm sure we'll throw that out there a little bit. But if you're watching this podcast after No Surrender, you can still listen through, and the content will still be relevant. We're just kind of talking about the build up to it, how the way they put the card together, and some just different things about it. So we're not going to sit here, oh, I think that this guy is going to beat this guy. I mean, again, we might get into that a little, but the content will still be relevant. So just keep listening. As I said, we don't talk a whole lot of news here, but let's do that today. Let's kick it off. What are we talking about?
All right. So, as most of you guys, if you're watching the show, you're obviously an Impact Wrestling fan. So, you probably heard Impact Wrestling announced this week that they're going to be debuting an Impact Wrestling pre-show called BTI Beyond Before the Impact. It's gonna star Josh Matthews, Gia Miller, who's the backstage interviewer right now, and a guy named John.
I just call him Big John. I can never remember what his last name is.
Yeah. But he's a guy who you'll recognize from the Slammiversary promos, the fake news report on the Slammiversary promos. He did those.
I think he really works for Channel 5 or something out in Tennessee.
Yeah, but that's still pretty cool though, right? Because that's like some just meshing in like with the local business or whatever. So anyway, my first thought when I saw this was, does Impact really need an Impact lead-in? You know what I mean? Like, the show's going to come on here in the US, it's going to come on at 7 p.m. Impact starts at 8 p.m. The way the show is supposed to be designed is, they'll do, like you said, exclusive interviews and, in-depth match previews, and they'll even have a match. So, again, to me, my thought is, like, it sounds cool, but I wonder if this content might have been better served on a different night, like a Thursday or a Saturday or something like that. But I just wonder, does Impact really need an Impact lead-in? You know what I mean? If you're going to put a lead-in to the show, it should be something else that people are interested in, so that the idea is that they'll stay here to watch your show after that goes off.
Right. So the short answer to that for me is no. As far as, I'm not talking about the entire show, but as far as the lead-in, well, let me put it like this. We talked about this over text, and a lot of people have asked me this should have been on a different night. I don't think the show is going to be that engaging to where someone will go out of their way to watch it on a Thursday or a Saturday. That's just me personally. I think people are probably more inclined to just tune in an hour early. They're already going to watch the show and then watch it. That's just my thing. Do they need a lead in to the show? again, the quick answer for me is no, because what I say about Aftershock, like, who the hell gives a shit about a kayfabe review show?
Yeah.
Now this is a little bit different, but just kayfabe previewing a show, like, it's just, who the fuck cares? See, I guess my biggest concern is we're at a point right now where it seems like the roster is so thin, and the same people are fighting every single week. So what can you say from week to week? Like, Havoc's gonna fight freaking Kiara again, or
Well, listen. If I was producing this show, I would
TJP and Rosie Heat. I mean,
I'd see an opportunity to do more character development. That's where I think
yeah.
this show could potentially shine. Whereas,
Yes.
in like we talked about, like Rohit, right? So sit Rohit down and just give him a chance to shine. Like basically, like, yo, tell us why we need to care about your third match with TJP after you've been, doing this, whatever. And then that's where it's on the talent to sell themselves, to sell their program that they're doing. And I think this actually could turn out to be a great vehicle. This is kind of what I had hoped Aftershock would become, which is, just it. WWE had been doing this thing called Talking Smack, and they did another called Raw Talk, which is just basically like a post show for Raw and for SmackDown. And what it became, regardless of what it had been intended to be, what it became was a vehicle that a lot of talent was using to work on their live promo skills, to talk about their character storyline, and present it in a more real way, a more unscripted way. Because the worst thing about WWE television is the dialogue that they give people, to talk about and promote and further their storylines. It does anything but. And so giving people an opportunity to kind of go out there and tell their story, tell their character story in their own words, I think it actually helped a lot. So that's where I think something like this could actually be really good. The question is, will people tune in early to see it?
Right. So you brought up the Talking Smack thing, and that was, I wasn't watching when that came out, but I saw a lot of clips online, and I saw the social media buzz about it. Before Hard to Kill, Ace Austin came out there, and it's what I imagine it's that going to be that setting. The pre-show they did for Hard to Kill and Bound for Glory was actually really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm imagining this setup is what they're going to use, but they did have Ace Austin come out. He, sat back, kicked his feet on the chair. He's like, why am I not in this X Division match? It's very, very candid, very, very free flowing. And I think if that is where they're going with it, it's going to be good. Right now, the backstage interviews for Impact to me are really bad. Gia has some work to do, and I think this is going to help her just take a breath, loosen up a little, and just kind of be more natural. Right now, she's like really scripted.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Mitchell was really scripted when she started and felt really, really robotic, and she improved over time. I think this is going to help her quite a bit. But the backstage interviews, not so much because of her, but I always complain about they do the backstage interview and they're playing the music and shit, and it completely takes away from the emotion of what they're trying to portray. Like, it doesn't matter if you're interviewing someone that's happy or someone that's feeling pain or they're mad about something, and it's the same in the background. It takes away from that.
You hate that background music.
Yeah, dude, I hate it so much. I'll talk about it every week till I get rid of it. But with this kind of setting here, I think we can get that emotion back that I think is really lost from what they're doing backstage.
All right.
So,
So, do you have anything else you want to add about it?
About that particular thing, though.
All right. So it's something to look forward to. I think it has high upside potential. That and the fact that Access TV is going to start airing Impact pay-per-views from like 9-10 years ago. It says they're basically making Tuesdays. They're giving the whole day to Impact Wrestling content, which, when you think about it from a business standpoint, this is actually a great use of that library that they brought. You know what I mean? Like, the pandemic has affected the live TV business a lot because, Access TV, they show a lot of things like rock concerts and documentaries and all that type of stuff. A lot of TV production has been greatly slowed, if not stopped, by the pandemic. You can't do location shoots in a lot of cases. Concerts are not something that's happening right now. So, like many television channels, Access TV has to be hurting for content. So them adding, classic TNA pay-per-views, I think that's actually a pretty smart content strategy. If you're somebody who has absolutely nothing to do on a Tuesday and you're an Impact Wrestling fan, just park it on Access TV at 3:00 and you'll never have to move.
Another thing I'm on record of talking a lot about over the years is the reliance on the library. But I tell you what, as I scroll through posts on Facebook and stuff, I realize there is a group, an audience, an Impact audience that still really has interest in that old stuff. Like for me, I just don't. That's like, that's like showing a picture of, hypothetically, of my girlfriend from 20 years ago, and she's weighs 98 pounds soaking wet and just looks like a model, and then 20 years later, she's gained 80 pounds, and I'm still. It's like I have a hard time looking at that stuff and just looking at how fun everything looked, and the bright lights and the crowds. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, this is what we're doing now, and it's just this like depressing, dark setting, with obviously no fans, which that's not their fault.
Yeah.
So I can't connect to it. I've never been able to connect to that
totally
stuff, even when they were just.
I think that if you insist on drawing that parallel, then yes, it's depressing, right? But I think it serves a good purpose of, one, showing people how much talent that they do know that started off in Impact Wrestling, when they were younger and better in Impact Wrestling. I think it serves that purpose. And I think it also kind of, if you think about it, we're coming up on like a year now that we've been under social quarantine.
Yeah.
And I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think that if Impact Wrestling can keep doing good shows, I think they're going to have a chance to have better crowds when they come back to letting people in, because people are looking at their show and kind of understanding that people aren't saying there's no people there because this product's not popular. I think people are saying there's no people there because it's a pandemic. You know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that actually creates a little bit of an opportunity for more people to be open to the idea of, let me give this product a chance, if I get a chance to go see it. That could be a thing.
Yeah, I think they were doing a good job. I think the crowds were starting to come, before this all happened.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see what kind of crowds they
plan on going to. There was a show that was planned for Terminal 5 in New York City, I think it was. It was for April of last year. I was planning on going to that show, and obviously it never happened. But oh my God, that would have been the show that ended up being the 5-way main event, and Tessa no-showed. That would have been that show. That would have been that show. I would have been pissed. Oh, I would have been pissed.
I don't think I had tickets to NWA, the pay-per-view in Georgia. So I missed that one because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I missed any other wrestling. I had XFL tickets, which was like for my girlfriend's birthday. I was so excited about it. It was our local St. Louis Battlehawks against like my hometown LA Wildcats, dude. Like it was just, I bought gear for us and everything.
Bro,
had that canceled.
Oh wait, no, you live in Indiana right now, right?
No, I live in Illinois, but I'm on the outskirts of Missouri. Right. I'm on the border.
But Illinois and St. Louis are like bordering, right? They're like neighboring.
Yeah. I work in St. Louis. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because Yeah, man. Like I remember seeing on TV how the St. Louis fans were like halfway filling up the Edward Jones Dome. Is that still what it's called? And is that still like there and operational and just chilling?
You mean where the Battlehawks were playing?
The dome where the Rams used to play.
Oh, where the Rams? Yeah, because I think that's where they were playing. Yeah, they were expecting 50,000 at that game I was going to.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is more than double what other teams were doing. So
I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But
I mean, I wish that would have. I have this weird fascination with like abandoned stadiums. It's so weird. I see like you're wearing a Chargers hat. I was watching like a YouTube video about the Qualcomm Stadium, how it's like set to be demolished now, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like that was still a good stadium.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's at my Charger groups are all disappointed about it.
Oh my god! So this is definitely what the people tuned in for.
Yeah, doing exactly what I say we won't do on this podcast.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do for everybody. Let's bring them back in. Let's bring them back in. We're gonna play a game called.
I just cut you off in the middle of saying that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I do want to say about before the impact. I want to say I hate that name with passion. I wish they could come up with something that wasn't like impact. I mean, just it's very unimaginative to me.
Yeah.
So that I don't like. And then BTI is too much like BTE. So I will say I hate the name.
Okay.
From a
marketing standpoint, I can see that, but I also see how before the impact like delivers what it promises. You know what I mean? Like
right.
You know, like you could. There's a lot you could say. Like I think trying to be too cute, you know what I mean? Like really might serve no purpose in this instance. You know?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think you're right though. Like if you come up with a great name, it's never a bad time for a great name. But I think this one actually hits home just because, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it was when do I watch the show?
Like, yeah, you know what? And then maybe that's part of it. Like, very well could be part of it. So, and I'm going to do everyone a favor.
Impact is that the thing?
And I'm going to do everyone
10 o'clock.
But I am going to do everyone a favor and not name drop Josh Matthews or talk about his involvement with the show this week. We give him a break this week. So let's get into what you're saying. I'm sorry, it's a horrible time for me to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. But now that we're back, we are going to play a game called Cool or Not Cool. And basically, we're going to talk about what happened in the show. But rather than like analyzing it, we're going to say it's cool, not cool, or meh. So if we liked it, it's cool. Mm-hmm. If we didn't like it, it was not cool. If we're indifferent, meh. All right. So hopefully we don't get too much meh, right? I feel like impact sometimes can be a lot of meh. We don't want meh. All right. Make me feel something. Pause. All right, let's go. All right. So the show opened with Josh Alexander, Suicide, Willie Mack, and Trey Miguel against Davari, Chris Bay, Blake Christian, and Ace Austin with Madman Fulton. The good guys, Josh Alexander, Suicide, Willie Mack, and Trey Miguel won this one. What'd you think? Cool or not cool?
I'm going to say it was cool because it was a good match. It was the one match we really got a very clean finish on. You know, Trey got a chance to really show what he can do. They were able to further his storyline after the match with Sammy, you know, where he kind of congratulated him on winning. I'm never a big fan of let's get our hands on each other before a pay-per-view, but Impact progressively has been doing that to where in years past they were pretty good about let's not get in the ring with each other until the pay-per-view. So
yeah,
that's really not a mentality they have anymore. So I'm gonna knock them for that, but I thought it was a great opening match, and it's clear that Ace and Josh are the guys that they're trying to go into the future with. And I think we're going to see a lot of Brian Cage type of mentality with them. Let's build them first in the X Division, get that belt, and then move up to the World Championship.
I sure hope so, man. I sure hope so because those look like guys to build around, and I hope they do that. I'm gonna say this was cool. To me, it's always great to start off the show with some action, fast-paced action. Let's get this thing rolling. I thought that was actually a really good start off to the match. After the match, we had Sami Callihan interrupt with a video on the video screen, and he said that Trey looks great when everything goes his way, but it's just a matter of time before he basically quits again. What do you think of this? Cool or not cool?
Cool. I loved what Sami did here, and I love that they're playing into what happened with the Rascals departing and him being a part of that departure and then coming back. Like, you're bringing some reality onto the show, so loved it. What do you think?
Actually, I like that too. To me, that was definitely cool. I like that. I was a big fan of that. And you're getting to see, like, Trey is a dude who has all this rage. You know what I mean? He has all this rage, and he just has to find a way to harness it and control it. And you just feel like sky's the limit with this guy. So for me, this was very cool. All right. Next up, we had Kimberly with Deonna Purrazzo and Susan, and she defeated ODB. What'd you think of this? Cool or not cool?
Neither. It's going to get an for me because I was happy to see Kimber get a win. I've said before that I think, I know you kind of disagreed with me, but I've always thought she looked very good in defeat compared to a lot of the other roster. You mentioned before the show you love her music. I love her music too. I love her entrance. I always stop to watch her entrance. I love it. But I was happy that she got the win, but I just have right now I don't really have interest in ODB returning. I mean, ODB is cool and all, but I mean, I just really want to see some fresh blood, and that's why I was just like, I'm not really into this. And then it just led to the eventual 3-on-3 women's match. So I was just in the middle with it. That's all.
Right. And I totally agree. But actually, no, I don't totally agree, because for me, this was cool. I'm gonna give this cool because, like I said, I realized that I love Kimberly's music. She's also a pretty good athlete. Like, she does this thing when she comes in where she does, like, she goes up to the ropes and then she does like a split on the 2 middle ropes and then pops off. I was like, oh, that's pretty dope.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. And also watching Deonna Purrazzo walk out to this ring, I was like, oh, I think I hate her. I was like, yo, man, that is good heel work. That is good heel work. We were talking about this earlier. I likened it to MJF, right? Like, when you see MJF, you're just like, yeah, I don't like that guy. You know what I mean? And it's because he's a good heel. You're not supposed to like MJF. You're not supposed to like Deonna Purrazzo. You know what I mean? That's called being a good heel, when you don't even have to necessarily do anything, but people see you and your appearance elicits a reaction. And so shout out to Deonna Purrazzo. I hate you.
And I think too, I'm going to throw in there the roll-up finish. That was part of it. Like, I've always hated roll-up finishes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just because you kind of surprised me, you're gonna pin me. They seem like allergic to certain people just getting clean victories. That's all.
Oof.
They're afraid for some people to lose, afraid for some people to win.
So that's never a good thing. All right. Next, we had some backstage stuff going on. We had Johnny Swinger and Falaba trying to play blackjack. Cool or not cool? How'd you feel about this?
Not cool. Not cool. Not cool. They're bringing the money back. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, this is also not cool. This didn't feel like it was going anywhere interesting. I think sometimes, because it's a 2-hour show, there can be a feel too much of a need to get everybody on every show, and I don't think that's necessary. You don't have to get everybody on every show. Maybe you can make some segments longer, or make some matches longer, or do some things a different way. You don't have to get everybody on every show just to do something. So this is gonna get not cool for me. All right, so we had, you talked about this already. The Susan complaining led to a 6 knockouts tag match for No Surrender. We'll talk about No Surrender later. Okay.
I like the
Cousin
soothing
Jake
stuff though.
came out to the ring to address Eric Young and his invitation to join Violence by Design. Jake said when he got here, he thought he had it all right, but now everything had turned around on him and he had to make a choice. Violent by Design comes out and they tell Jake that he had to think about it. And, and Jake said he finally understood what was going on. Jake kind of teases that he's going to, that he's going to join them. But then he said he'd stand for something and he stood for Jake something. And then he attacked Diener. What'd you think about this? Violent by Design obviously ended up kicking his butt. They left him, gave him the Pillmanizer. What was this? Cool or not cool? How'd you feel about this?
So this was cool for me. The first time I ever saw Jake something in action was somewhere here locally in Illinois. I think it was probably Glory Pro when Michael Elgin was running it. Might have been at AEW in Chicago. I don't know, but I've seen him live a lot before he had anything to do with Impact. And I always loved. I thought his name was cool. He does this thing on the Indies where he's like, "What's my name?" and the crowd's like, "Something." I don't see that happening in Impact because I don't think the Impact crowd. I talk about this before. There's a disconnect with the crowd and the product. So I don't see that catching on right away. Maybe that's something that would happen later. But it was nice for me because this was a guy I actually saw on the Independents and then end up in Impact, and I was like, man, I love his look. I was never a big fan of the cousin Jake thing. Like when he came aboard, I was like, damn, that's what they're doing with him. I was kind of disappointed. But I have seen him wrestle quite a bit live. He's one of the first wrestlers I think that ever followed me on Twitter. So I was really happy to see the return of this, and since I didn't watch the show live, but I knew he became Jake something. I'm like, how did he? I wonder how he flipped it. All I could think was Eric Young cutting some promo like you're nothing. He's like, I'm something. I thought it was something gay. But the way he was like, you stand for whatever he says, stand for something.
Yeah.
That tied it into where it wasn't just a silly name, like it was a name now that meant something. So I really liked it. I'm excited for this character showing up because I think there's potential there's so much more potential in Jake something there wasn't Cousin Jake.
Totally agree. Yeah, to me this was cool. This was definitely cool. I'm very excited for the development of new characters, right? There's an opportunity here for Ace Austin, Josh Alexander, Jake something. I want to see what these guys can do. I want to see their character get some shine and get a chance to develop. And I'm just very excited for new characters and new stories to build up, and let's see where these guys are going. So for me, this was cool. All right, cool. Rohit Raju and Mahabali Shera cut a promo. Rohit said that TJP couldn't beat him and had to rely on his monster Manic, and thus Rohit had to go get his own monster, that being Shera, and basically saying, me and my guy gonna come get your X Division title. What do you think about this? Cool or not cool?
Cool, because I always enjoy Rohit's promos, and then adding Shera adds a wrinkle to it that just makes it different. When I was on active duty, I did law enforcement, and most of our shifts we were 99% men. And when it was a bunch of dudes, it was just like Groundhog Day every day. And sometimes we would just get a girl, and it didn't matter if she was cute or ugly. It just broke up the monotony of doing this the same thing every day. Just having a female around, like it just changes the dynamic. Even though we're doing the same exact job every day, I was getting very tired of this feud, and just just being there just gives me something different, something else to work with. So. For me, it was cool.
No, I totally agree. I think just adding Shera to the mix, it does change it. You know what I mean? It changes it. I don't think there's any way. There's you can't deny. Excuse me. Adding Shera to Rohit, it changes the act, because now it's not Rohit being a weasel. It's Rohit being a weasel with a goon, and a weasel with a goon can be a world champion. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
weasel with a big giant goon can beat anybody. And they can, they can be getting their butt kicked and the goon can interfere and they can win. They can be getting their butt kicked and the goon can interfere and they can get disqualifications. Like, there's so much you can do once you give a heel a goon. And so, to me, this has Rohit as the future champion written all over it. I like it. This is cool for me. All right. So up next, we got our weekly AEW commercial with Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone, Tony Schiavone. They talked about Kenta's debut attacking Jon Moxley. Khan talked about himself being the forbidden door and thanked Impact because it was him. He realized he had the power to open it and do whatever he wants, basically talking about, the New Japan coming back into the fold here. And, he thanked Don Callis and Kenny Omega for opening his mind to, whatever he can do here. What'd you think about this promo? This AEW paid advertisement. Cool or not cool?
For me, it's It's eh. It would be a not cool because I don't really enjoy these. I know some people do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really. I don't understand where they're trying to go with it. But then I thought it was cool because they talked about the forbidden door, and that's furthering something storyline wise, and creating intrigue. So there was just good and bad for me. The bad was just that I just typically don't like these, so it just for me.
For me, this was cool because I feel like we're seeing a bit of a development of Tony Khan as a character. Tony Khan is becoming, I can't tell whether he's the antagonist or the protagonist here, but maybe he's the protagonist when we're on AEW and the antagonist when we're on Impact, but he's being way more involved here than I ever thought he would be. And so I'm intrigued, right? I'm intrigued as to where is this going? How is this gonna, what's next? I don't think there's necessarily an end in mind. I just think there's intrigue as to what's to come next. So for me, this is cool. Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows cut a promo on Sabin and James Storm. They, talk about how they're, whatever. They're the best team and they're gonna win. Cool or not cool?
Not cool because it's just the same shit we hear every single week. It's the same shit, same promos we heard from the North. Obviously not the same exact wording, but it was just don't care.
Right. I agree. That's good. You can leave it there. For me, it was meh. It was meh. There's stuff about the Good Brothers I like, and there's stuff that's meh. And this was meh. Whatever. It was meh. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
You know what was cool was that they showed up on AEW and cost Private Party in the Battle Royal.
Yeah. That was good.
So,
all right. So next we went back to the ring, and Nevaeh with Havoc defeated Kiera Hogan with Tasha Steelz via DQ. Was this cool or not cool? What'd you think here?
Not cool because again, we're allergic to doing finishes, clean finishes. I feel cheated when I watch a match with a DQ finish, and I resubscribe to the WWE Network, and then I already subscribed to Peacock, so I'll watch on there. But I resubscribed because I wanted to watch the Royal Rumble #1, and because #2 I wanted to watch some old wrestling, and I forgot how much as a kid I would watch these shows, and there would be so many DQ finishes and count out finishes.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I always feel so cheated out of I was like, why the fuck did I even watch this if no one's going to win or really win, And that's kind of what I get with this too. They found a storyline way to take it. You're probably going to get into this, but they found a storyline way to take it into No Surrender. I thought this was going to be 50-50 booking. I thought for sure, Nevaeh was going to lose. This wasn't Nevaeh, right?
Yeah, it was Nevaeh.
Oh, yeah. So I thought for sure she was going to lose. But I'm losing a little interest in this feud because it's all they got, and they already feuded for a really long time, like half a year ago. So, I just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to totally agree. I'm going to give this a not cool. And for me, it's really all the same reasons that you said here, which is that they're exhausting this feud. They're exhausting the combinations of this feud. They're exhausting the possibilities of this feud. Like, we feel like this is all leading towards Havoc and Nevaeh getting those titles. But I'm going to tell you another reason why this was not cool for me, because babyface Havoc is weird to me. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, Havoc, the death machine, like, she's like this mean, untamable killer. And the finish was a DQ, and Havoc just rolls out of the ring, and they're, going up the rail like, oh, we got you. And I'm like, yo, like, y'all are way bigger than these women. Like, why would you guys be happy with a DQ and we're going up the ramp? Like, to me, I don't know. That part of it felt weird to me. So I'm giving this a not cool. Not cool for me. All right, let's move on here. Let's see what else we got here. We got Triple XL with Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. They came out to the ring to call out Decay and talk about their match and No Surrender. At which point, we got to see that Decay has a new member who is Black Taurus, and he ends up defeating Caleb with a K. What do you think about this? Cool or not cool?
So cool, so cool. I've talked to a lot about how much I really like Caleb with a K and Tennille. I loved the promo beforehand because I thought the dynamic was just so funny that Tennille was just standing there with him, and then she starts talking, and she says, she's talking about, well, this team here, well, me, she turns into just continuing to live the gimmick. And this was one of those things I kind of wish I saw live. I didn't get a chance to see it live. Black Taurus came out. Several people have asked me why his name is pronounced like that. It's just in Spanish. That's all it is. It's kind of like you got a friend named Jaime, and it's spelled Jamie, but you don't call him Jamie. It just Taurus, Spanish pronunciation. But he's not just a dude who wears a bull mask and then goes out there and, just wrestles and hits people. Like, dude, he was like flying around that ring. Even the finisher where it was a Samoan drop, but the way he just landed on top of him, like, he is intense.
Yeah.
I always thought Abyss stood out like a sore thumb with Decay personally. Once he put on the face, once he had the face paint and stuff, I thought it fit. But at first, when he was just regular Abyss with the mask, and I was just like, dude, he just looks like, hey, we just need to throw someone in this group. Like, here, you're big and scary. Like, we'll throw you. To where, like, with Black Taurus, like, I feel like he fits he fits in with them really well. They're all roughly the same height, so it just looks better aesthetically. But I was really happy that they brought back Decay. I did a upload on the channel about a year ago asking people, do you think they're going to bring the Decay back? And I really said no. Because at the time I said, well, they're doing this Rosemary thing with Taya. She's kind of going into a heel. She's even doing comedy. Like, the trajectory, I don't know if I'd call it the trajectory, but the direction her character was going was so far from Decay that I was like, I just don't see them bringing it back. Impact loves to live in the past, but the past that they don't like to live in is the Billy Corgan TNA days.
Yeah.
So, and they did a lot of good stuff back then, but they really like to ignore some of the stuff that happened. So that's why it was interesting to me and unexpected that they brought back Decay as a team.
Right.
Will Black Taurus be full-fledged member going forward? I hope so. But I wouldn't be surprised if he wrestles No Surrender, a set of tapings, and then we don't see him for a year.
They made it sound like he's here to stay. So, we'll see. Like you said, for me, this was a thumbs up. And the main reason why it was a thumbs up for me was because Black Taurus is really exciting in the ring. Like, I like the way he was doing his moves. He just, power bombs, suplexes, Samoan drops, like it all just like bang, 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 bang. He was like Goldberg with a bull mask on. and I like it. I'm here for it. So for me, this was definitely cool. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, so The wrestling main event of the show was the Impact Tag Team Championships, the Good Brothers versus Chris Sabin and James Storm. The Good Brothers actually defeated Sabin and James Storm when Private Party interfered to break up a pin, and Scott D'Amore would later make the match for No Surrender a tag team triple threat with now Private Party, Storm and Sabin, and the Good Brothers for No Surrender. So, what'd you think of this? Cool or not cool?
Just not cool, honestly, for me. I don't. Every time they make a match multi-team, multi-man, it just dilutes what the match can be and what the match means. Like Sabin and Storm, you guys lost. Wait your turn. How the hell they got a title match even though they lost the number one contenders match? How the hell they got a title match before Private Party? I don't understand. Like why even have the number one contenders match?
Right.
Why
That's
you
true.
know
Very true.
it just makes that's why when they announce shit sometimes like I'm just like dude it doesn't matter, it means nothing, it's like right now I've mentioned this in the past that my guilty pleasure is watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. There's this thing right now with The Bachelor show. This has been going on the last couple of seasons. Someone doesn't get a rose. They're essentially eliminated. And then they come back like 3 weeks later and somehow find a way to get back on the show. Or
it's the Money in the Bank. They get the Money in the Bank before they go.
Yeah. And we're watching this episode Monday night, and this girl, I mean, we're like halfway through the season. This girl from seasons past decided she wanted to get in on this season, and she just shows up and she just joins a group. And I said, does it mean nothing now if you're not part of the group or if you get eliminated from the show? Because you can just come back. Like, so I'm watching. I just have to watch this number one contenders match. It means nothing because they're all just in the match, and Sabin and Storm got a title match before they did, and then we just you're promoting this big match, and then it's just a bullshit DQ finish, and we'll talk about No Surrender here, but again, it just dilutes it for me every time you just add another team because once this is over, No Surrender. What the hell are you going to do? Because keep fighting the same damn people? You could have waited. You could have held off Sabin and Storm. But most likely you don't want to piss off AEW and you don't want Private Party to get pinned. So you bring in a couple other guys to take the pin. That's how I look at it. And it's Scott D'Amore always popping up on TV. Just not
Lord
cool.
D'Amore, that's your boy. Listen, this was cool for me. This is cool for me because I liked them turning the No Surrender main event into a triple threat because it makes more sense to me to add Storm and Sabin into the match because the idea that Private Party is going to win the Impact Tag Team Championship when they are a third tier team in AEW, to me, I'm like, yo, bro, come on. That's a no. And so I like the idea of adding Storm and Sabin here. I don't care who takes the pin. I mean, I'm sure as an Impact fan, we could always say, hey, that's whack that they put in Storm and Sabin so they can take the pin so Private Party doesn't have to take a pin. Sure, yeah, that's weird. But I like it. I like it. I think it'll add some intrigue and I think it'll add some quality to the match because Storm and Sabin are both really good wrestlers. And again, I like the active Private Party kind of, but I hate their matches. Not a fan.
Hate them.
Not a fan. Like I just too much standing around waiting for somebody to catch you in a Hurricane Rana or whatever. Like I don't like it, man. I don't like it. It's not for me.
Somebody brought that up to me on a Facebook chat or message saying Private Party their moves are all someone's waiting for a spot or someone's waiting. It's very very choreographed. And a lot of AEW's tag team matches are like that, but Private Party's definitely like that. Everything's very in a real fight. You wouldn't do anything like you'd see half the shit coming. You know what I mean? So before we move on, I will say about Scott D'Amore, even though I don't like him on screen all the time, I thought he was really funny in the segment with Kiera and Tasha when they came in. He's like, "You're right, I do got to do something about it," and it'll be no DQ. Like that whole thing was actually kind of funny to me. But
yeah,
him coming out with the headset and I'm just like, here we go.
yeah. Demore, man, Scott Demore. All right, so next we had the contract signing between Swan and Dreamer for the title match at No Surrender. Scott Demore, of course, officiated the process. Swan thanked Dreamer quietly, and then Dreamer, talked. He talked about how, he knows Rich Swann has a bad leg and he's not going to let up. And then, Moose comes out to interrupt the contract signing. And, look, man, he was talking his talk. Then Tommy Dreamer got up and he basically told Moose, before he started switching his character up, that the company was going to let him go. And, then it was a promo with no, usually these things end in some sort of a brawl, and it didn't. Moose walked away calmly, which is like the weirdest
right.
part of all this. And it went off the air with Dreamer and Swan kind of hugging and saying, "See you on Saturday." That was a little weird. What do you think of this? Cool or not cool?
So I'm actually going to give it a cool because as much as I'm not looking forward to, as much as I don't look forward to anything Tommy Dreamer, the difference with this is that usually when there's a Tommy Dreamer match or he's on a pay-per-view, they force him into it. They force him into feuds. Like he's the random guy that's going to come down and save someone and bring the kendo stick, like saving cousin Jake. Like the hell, with this, there was everyone was like, okay, I already assume BQ hates this with Tommy Dreamer. I was very mad when I knew this was the main event, but when the way they tied in, oh, it's his birthday, we're gonna do this, and then in the when he's sitting down with Swan and act like you thought you were gonna take the night off with me, like this, they've been able to build a compelling story with it for me, and and Dreamer's promos are always good. I just wish they would put this kind of energy into someone who's like a long term part of the product.
Yeah.
The energy they put into Dreamer and the promotion they put into Dreamer. Happy birthday. There were some funny videos there with the AEW guys and all that.
Yeah.
I will say AEW's Facebook, they say happy birthday to everybody, even if they're on AEW Dark.
Yeah.
And Impact's social media is like, happy birthday, Consequences Creed. Like someone they didn't give two shits about when he was with the company, and now because he's at WWE, but then the people on their own roster they don't wish happy birthday to. Well, excuse me. So it was cool just because it was they've managed to build intrigue with these guys for me, and then they didn't do the cookie cutter thing where there was some kind of brawl at the end. They've put enough into the story to make it kind of matter.
Yeah.
So, I'll give it a cool.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for me this was cool only because of Dreamer's promo. Like Dreamer, the part where he told Moose that they were thinking about cutting him loose. Like, who knows if that's true or if it's not true.
Right.
I tend to think that, like, I thought for the longest time it was just weird to me that Moose was just sitting there and not moving. And
right.
Moose felt like somebody that should have been a main eventer in Impact for a long time. And they didn't have him doing, like opening card stuff, but he was never seemed like a serious option for like the main event. And that just always felt weird to me. You know what I mean? I always felt weird to me. And I think that it became apparent to me that the company did not really believe in this guy. And I really think that a turning point in his Impact career was his program he did with EC3. I think that like that forced the company to look at Moose in a different light. And to his credit, he's ran with it since then. He's been phenomenal. And so I think that, that little line that Tommy Dreamer dropped right there, it felt like it had a hint of realism to it. And that made it cool. And it also just reminded you that, Moose is going to be lurking for this main event. I think there's a great chance we could get a no finish here because we get like a run in for Moose. So are you ready for the Moose, Tommy Dreamer, Rich Swann triple threat match at Rebellion?
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. What was I gonna say? Shit. Oh, speaking of EC3, have you seen that he's been kind of going? I don't want to say back. He's been acknowledging Matt Cardona quite a bit on Twitter, to where it may be laying the seeds to something.
Yeah, they could be laying the seeds to something, but there's no telling as to where those seeds might blossom. Right?
Yeah.
Would it be cool for Impact if they were able to host that match? Sure. Yeah. But I mean, who's to say, right? I feel like right now EC3 is at a stage where he's really calling his shot in terms of price and who's willing to pay his price. You know what I mean? I think Impact, honestly, Impact could try to keep bringing him back, and they can afford it. This Anthem has money, but I think they've squeezed the juice out of this current version of EC3. I don't think there's more they can get from adding EC3 again right now.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if he shows up every once in a while. Well, it's like Brock Lesnar, but not under contract.
Yeah.
It could work. You know what's cool, man? I want to talk. We're going to get into the No Surrender stuff. These Impact jumpsuits that they're wearing. Just the way they've
kind of. Is that what Trey Miguel had on when he came out?
I think so. I know Tasha Steelz had one.
Okay. Yep, that's it.
A couple people did.
Yeah.
So I talk about marketing a lot. The way that they're just kind of throwing these on the screen. Tommy Dreamer had them. They acknowledge them a little bit, but it's like it's getting a little intrigued. If they make these available to sell, which I would imagine they will, they're going to do well. They're creating chatter with them without, like Josh Matthews, if he was on commentary, he would have like 50 times like, oh, look at that, to where he just like beats it to death, like the micro brawlers. So this is what I think. This is like known. I'm not starting a rumor, no inside knowledge. I think that they have these jumpsuits because if you remember about 3 weeks ago, Private Party was on the screen and they had AEW jumpsuits. And that I was like, they're moving towards, in my opinion, because now we got New Japan involved. It's a matter of time before Ring of Honor is involved. And then AEW and NWA is semi-involved. I'm envisioning the Olympics, or even high school or college sports where they have their jumpsuits. They have their, we're Team Impact, we're Team AEW. I see some kind of, not invasion stuff, but interpromotional pay-per-view or matches or competitions. And the jumpsuits are, each company would be representing themselves.
I think that's actually a pretty cool idea. I think that'd be dope.
Yeah.
I could see something like there something like that exists. I remember a few years ago seeing on social media that a bunch of Impact talent had gone to Mexico to participate in something. I'm not necessarily familiar with it, but I just remember, following these different people on social media and them seeing, and I remember there was a part where people were walking out in like jumpsuits, similar to like the Olympics. And I was like, man, I think that actually would be like a pretty cool idea. I'd love to see something like that, man. I'd be down.
I watched that. I know what you're talking about. I was on vacation in Las Vegas. My dad lives in Las Vegas, so I was there watching them. And I ordered that pay-per-view, and I remember sitting at his dining room table, and I watched it. And it was something like the World Cup or something along those lines. Yeah. It was some kind of cup, and there was Team USA, Team Mexico, Team whatever, and then there was like Team Impact, Team Lucha Underground. So I think Allie was part of Team Canada for the women. Sienna was a part of like Team USA, and then Team Impact was like Eli Drake, EC3, and might have been Tyrus, I think it was. And then Spud wrestled on a team with a couple of guys from Lucha Underground. So it was this like World Cup thing. The Impact guys didn't win a single match. Not Team Impact, not Team USA and Team Canada that had Impact people.
And I think
not one
that
of them
would be
won.
in that idea that you just mentioned. I think that's the role that Impact would find themselves in, which
Yes.
I think is not good for Impact.
Yeah. It was absolutely like, hey, AAA and Lucha Underground teams, they're the priority here. Like they're just here to Impact's here to take wins. Like take losses. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So coming up this Saturday, we got No Surrender, and we talked about a lot of what's coming up. But really, rather than necessarily going down the card and going match by match and giving predictions, I want to know what you think about the build for this show. Like, do you think are you planning on watching it? Are you excited for it? Do you think they've done a good job setting up the matches? What, if anything, are you looking forward to on this card?
All right. So, and to reiterate what I said earlier, if you're checking this podcast out after No Surrender, don't shut it off. Like we're going to talk about is relevant whenever you listen to it. So as far as the build goes, yes, I'm going to watch it. I'm actually going to watch it I'll be at work. I can watch it at work on the weekend. I can have it on in the background. So I am going to watch it. The build. So I'm contradicting myself here. I did a series of YouTube videos last year or the year before talking about Impact Plus and Twitch and the shows that they were doing, how they weren't good. They were there was technical difficulties. The matches didn't matter. They didn't build anything on TV. They didn't promote it on TV. They didn't do anything. So they're doing a lot of that now. So I'm contradicting myself here. But for me, they're going a little too hard. Like No Surrender is a pay-per-view quality card. There's good and bad. It's good, but the roster is so thin, and there's so many people involved with this. Like, where the hell do you go after it? I have to believe they know where they're going with it, but I'm just like, fuck. Like, there's some pretty good feuds on here that would actually be pretty good for the pay-per-view, and we're using them here. And then so they brought Saban and Storm in, and I'm just like, dude, wait your turn. Like, do a match at the next. Why are we blowing our load on everybody right now? Yeah. They're squeezing the life out of Kiera and Tasha versus Havoc and Nevaeh already. The Revolver match, I think, is one of the best ideas and concepts they have had for a match in years. I hope that it is something that continues. I've been wanting this kind of shit, not the cookie cutter. We're going old school and this and like, dude, we've seen that a million times. Like, this is a great idea, so I'm really excited for that match. But for me, they threw too many people in the car. Like you said, not everyone has to be on the show every week because then you're just throwing people in everything, and it just you don't connect to the on-screen talent the same if you don't have that chance to take things in with them a little bit. When it's just everyone's just there. Like, you just don't really connect, And for me, there's just too many people involved. Like, you easily could have just went Larry D versus Crazy Steve or something. You could have just had a one-on-one match, and then if you want to continue that feud, like, snowball into it. But for me, like, they went too hard on this. It looks like a really good show. It's not what I'm saying, but for me, it went too hard. Like, I don't know where you go from here. You're just giving us everything right away. No slow build, anything. Just hey, here it all is, and then they're just gonna. I have to feel like they're gonna fight the same people on Impact when they return next week. All these feuds.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think the build to the show actually has been good, though.
Yes, it has, but yeah, it has.
Some of it has felt a little bit rushed, but I found myself. I think they introduced 5 new matches on the show this week, and I'm interested in all of it. I think the highlight will definitely be, the big stuff is that X Division Revolver match, which again is great because it's not the title match. The person coming out of that is going to have a great claim to being the number 1 contender. And then we got the actual X Division title match later in the night. So I love that, right? I love that. Give me things that mean something. This is a match with consequences. So going forward, this match can be like the standard for how you get a number one contender. So I'm a big fan of that. Doing the 6-woman match, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm a big fan of trios and tag team matches, because to me they really lend to that very fast paced, minimal selling type of style that's so prevalent in every match now. But I think it works well in tag team and trio style matches. So I'm interested to see what this group can come up with. And like I mentioned earlier, I like making the tag team match a triple threat. I'm just interested to see where they can go. And I think we're all under the impression that the long story arc here is involving Moose and Rich Swann, right? So we feel like this is just a stopgap, bump in the road, however you want to say it. And I think there will continue to be some furthering of the Moose Rich Swann story. So I'm interested to see where that goes and how it plays out. They've earned a little bit of the benefit of the doubt from me to just to see what's going to come next. I think they've done a good job so far, telling their stories and figuring out what's coming next. So I'm intrigued. I think they've done a good job building to it, and I think this could have easily been like a pay-per-view.
What I'll say about Moose and his involvement in this, which is really positive, is that I don't have a clue what the plan is with Moose in a good way. Like, he's kind of going after Swan, but he's done it so indirectly, like where I don't know if indirect is the right term, but it's
not.
right. Because he's going at him directly, but what I'm trying to say, it's not overbearing. It's not like he's not running in and attacking Swan every match. Like, he was getting to Swan through Willie Mack. Like there was just
I totally agree with you. His approach is like, it's different than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And like, even like one of the most understated things I've seen in wrestling was the finish to his I Quit match with Willie Mack. Like, how badass was that? Did he beat Willie Mack to the verge of annihilation and had Rich Swann come out and beg for mercy, and he just goes, "I quit." And like, I'm like, yo, like, that's like a mind F, bro. That's so crazy.
Yes.
That is so crazy. And stuff like that, this character is doing something different. And that just, further supports like what you said, like he's going after Rich Swann, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And you've got to wonder what they're going to do here. I mean, this company has reinforced over and over again that they do not believe in Moose as a headliner. And I felt like if there was ever a time he was going to get it, this is it.
There's just there's so many layers to the Moose character and what he's trying to do and what they're trying to do with him. It's when I say some of these other feuds are very cookie cutter. We got two tag teams. One's gonna fight one this week. One's gonna fight one next week. They're gonna have a tag team match. Like, in a world of like all that cookie cutter shit, like what they're doing with him is just there is a long term. There's just something long term here. Like, and it started months ago. Like, they're really taking their time with what would we ultimately want to accomplish here with Moose. And I don't have a clue in hell. I don't know if he's going to beat Rich Swann. I don't know if they're going to put the title on Dreamer and he wrestles Dreamer. I don't know if Omega's going to win the title and he wrestles Kenny Omega, or if he's going to show up on AEW one day, or what the hell is he going to do? But I don't know what to expect out of Moose. And then they don't beat us over the head with his appearances. Like, he makes an appearance, but what's that?
My 5-year-old's up. I gotta
okay. let's transition into a final topic. This kind of has to do with No Surrender a little bit because as I say, Josh Matthews. Imagine him being in a match. Josh Alexander,
former
grand
what was he?
champion.
Grand champion Josh Matthews.
Again, Josh Alexander is in this six-way, this revolver match, and I mentioned earlier. I'm getting the Brian Cage vibe from him a little bit, to where they're I think they realize they got something with him, and he's underrated, man, in the sense that think of what Ethan Page was before Josh got there.
Mm-hmm.
They tried a couple different things with him. The Chandler Park thing, the pairing him up with Matt Sydal, which was a horrible. It wasn't a believable fit. I'll put it like that.
Right.
And then you add Josh to the mix, and all of a sudden the North is born, and the North
Right.
is no joke. And I think he has a chance to be a real legit, like, badass baby face. I think I mentioned this last week when we were talking. Like, they try to make John Moxley when he was champion. This, I'm a badass. I drive a truck and I do all this, but I don't really buy it. Like with Josh Alexander, he's much bigger in stature, but I just see him as a like real credible, like, baby face champion.
Yeah,
just like a badass dude, So I see some Brian Cage in that, where he's gonna start off in the X division. He's gonna work his way up. They did that with Rich Swann in a sense too, even though he's a smaller guy. But I think they see that, okay, we got to build some, like, real homegrown stars here, and he has the opportunity to be that for them. So I want to see this revolver match. I would be shocked if the final three wasn't him, Trey, and Ace Austin, and him and Trey were the final two. I'd be shocked if that wasn't the case. But they're putting something into him, and I'm excited to see the growth, with him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think for me, with Josh Alexander, I see, you mentioned Brian Cage. Well, to me, I think he reminds me, he has an opportunity to remind us all of another former Impact champion, and that being Kurt Angle. To me, this guy has Kurt Angle written all over him if they do it right. And I'm not saying you basically got to try and copy Kurt Angle, but you can copy Kurt Angle. I mean, like, this guy, like, he has the credentials of, like, being just a legit tough guy, badass. And I think they need to go about presenting him the right way. Little things like, I was watching his entrance, and it's basically the same entrance that the North had. And I'm like, I would shoot this so differently. Like, I would follow him from backstage and take time to just show his face, show his preparation before he steps into the arena, because everybody just needs to know this guy is all intensity. And when he steps into the ring, it's go time. But I think the worst case scenario they can do with him is just do that thing where it's like, okay, now get over, here's your shot. Like, no, don't do that. I'm not a believer in that. I believe that as the producers of the TV show, it's your job to tell the audience what you want them to know. And I want you to know that this guy is intense. He will snap your limbs. He will break you, slam you into the canvas in every uncomfortable way possible, right? And so they need to do a good job of conveying that to us, that this guy is a beast, and you will have something with this guy. I think there is unlimited potential for Josh Alexander going forward, but there's also an unlimited floor for if they just don't treat him right, or if I don't know that he's the guy that's going to go out there and wow you with his promos. But I think, again, they need to just produce him right for when he's on camera. Like, show us that he's a badass, tell us that he's a badass, and then let him do his work in the ring. And I think that'll take care of itself. So this has potential to be really great, or a huge flop. If Impact handles this right, this can be, like you said, a signature homegrown talent that carries them into the next 2-3 years. If not, then he'll just be another guy. And so, but both options are very much on the table.
I'm leaning towards more towards them getting it right with him, because they're not just thrusting him into the main event scene right away and all that. I'm leaning towards them doing this right. And you're right that the entrance is just like the North. And I remember I did say this last week that he still has the North theme song, which I think sucks. I think he should have something very specific to him, and hopefully that's coming. Hopefully they don't just keep rolling with this, because that song is no good. That's not like okay, here's your badass babyface champion coming out like dun dun. It sounds like the shit they play in the background of the EC3 and Moose stuff a few before Slammiversary. So
right.
But I am leaning towards that. I think they're going to do it right with him. I think we're going to see a lot behind him and Trey going forward, to where they're just like, hey, we gotta make these guys happen. I think there's more pressure now to build their own stars, and instead of trying to poach from other places. I feel like they have to see how thin the main event scene is. Like I'm pretty sure they sit around like, yo, okay, enough. We got to start building some people. I made a comment many times. I'm going to say it many more times. They're more concerned with reminding you AJ Styles was in the company instead of trying to find the next AJ Styles. Yeah. So I see this. I see positive steps going forward with him.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. That's all I got for tonight, man. That's all I got for tonight. Everybody watching at home, though, or in your car, or at work, while you should be doing work, but you listen to us, so y'all cool. But listen, we're gonna get back to our questions from the comment section very soon. But y'all gotta go ahead and drop those comments right here in the video below. Drop your name and where you're from, and ask us something good. Okay, don't keep just dropping comments talking about, hey, TW is so handsome. We want to know, how tall is he? What does he like to do on dates? Like, we don't need to know. Like, guys, come on, stop. That's not the type of content that we're here for. All right. Chinese food, long walks, and a little bit of dancing, maybe. But other than that, we're not that's not what we're here for. Okay. So I got an OnlyFans page too, if you guys are really
there. Whoa. And I'm the first subscriber. No, we guys hope you dug the cool, not cool. I think we're gonna do that going forward, so that we can still kind of talk about the show, but just in more fun, interactive way with each other. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, but give us some ideas for show conversations going forward. We'll try to talk about the news a little bit more, so we just switch things up a little. We're still trying to find that format that's going to work for us. And but I like this. I like the cool, not cool. We'll probably keep doing that. So for TW, I'm BQ. Thanks for listening. As always, we will catch you guys next week. Enjoy No Surrender, and we're out. Peace.